Dr. Terry, I know that you have much to share with us concerning the work of Alabama Baptist and how you help us serve the Lord in terms of what you do in your leadership as the editor, the senior editor at the Alabama Baptist. Would you?
Thank you, Dr. Leonard. As we begin this report, would you join me in in viewing a video which will share the testimony of one of our pastors.
Hi, this is Rick Marshall. I've been a pastor in Alabama for more than 40 years and now serve the Eastern Hills Baptist Church in Montgomery, Alabama. Perhaps like me, you've noticed how our society is changing. Our world is changing. Society is constantly redefining our values. A glance at a secular newspaper or a look at the evening news causes us to ask the question, what in the world is going on in our society? Our biblical values are being tested and debated, such as marriage and family and life and ethics. Truths we have held as Baptists to be nailed down as absolute are coming loose. In this cultural storm, the Alabama Baptist is a voice we can trust. Week after week, I find insightful articles which are of help to our church family. The Alabama Baptist is like a mirror against which we can clearly see the key issues of our day in contrast to our biblical values. Because our world is shrinking, national and international issues often overlap. I find that the Alabama Baptist is able to give us accurate and timely information about what God is doing in our world. For example, our prayer teams here at Eastern Hills are helped as they learn how to pray for the persecuted church, or what missionaries are doing both here and abroad. The Alabama Baptist provides foundational information to help us to learn to work together as Baptists in missions and in ministry. It encourages us to cooperate together and to give together through the cooperative program. Our Alabama Baptist encourages our walk with the Lord through inspiring reports week after week of what God is doing in the world. That's why in each of the churches where I've served as a pastor, I've encouraged the church to place the Alabama Baptist in the hands of each member. In this changing society, in this changing world, the Alabama Baptist is a voice we can trust. Now more than ever, we need to read the Alabama Baptist.
May I simply remind us of some of the things we learn from academia. For example, every volunteer group needs a reliable, trustworthy source of common information that helps us work together. For unless we share a common task, a common view, we all go our separate ways. The Alabama Baptist is about promoting all that we do together, encouraging us in the Word of God, and causing our discipleship to be expressed in the public square. Now, lest you think this is simply an assertion, may I remind you of studies done in Alabama and studies done elsewhere that demonstrate that, on a rule, churches that provide the state Baptist paper give more to missions through the cooperative program than churches that don't. Give more to special mission offerings than churches that don't. Participate more in Baptist life, whether it be their church life, their association, or their state convention, than churches that don't. And while we can't prove it, I believe they pray more. Because Baptists only support with their pocketbook, their person, or their prayers what they care about. And they can't care about it until they know about it. And the Alabama Baptist has the privilege, as well as the responsibility, to provide that common base of information that helps us work together as the people of God. Thank you for allowing us that privilege.
Thank you, Dr. Terry. Yes. Lynette Berg is one of those individuals that helps us with our remembrance and our memory. And her work is invaluable to churches across the state. And she's going to come and give us an update and share with us something interesting.
Yes, sir, indeed. The Alabama Baptist Historical Commission has had an opportunity to serve Alabama Baptists in many ways this year, including helping them preserve church records, providing tour groups, wonderful experiences, and we have helped plan and celebrate milestone anniversaries. Now, one of the topics of our state convention theme which is served, is starting new churches. And you know, Alabama Baptist history is the story of starting new churches. After all, at one time, all of our churches were new church starts. So I want us to think back about 100 years to 1914 in the countryside near Greenville, Alabama, where 14 people gathered together to start a Baptist church, now known as Ebenezer East Baptist Church. On the screen, you'll see the first minutes of Ebenezer East, documenting that on April 19, 1914, at the Waller Schoolhouse, a group of interested people met to begin a missionary Baptist church. Greenville was the county seat of Butler County, and there were several Baptist churches in the farming communities that surrounded the town. But in those days, you either horse and buggy or traveled on foot. And it was a long way for the people in that community to get to church. So they decided to start their own. During the meeting, they sang the hymn, "Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing." And Reverend Charlie Perry, Ebenezer's first pastor, proposed the name Ebenezer from the line of the hymn, "Here I raise mine Ebenezer." The church name was unanimously adopted, but later on, they determined that another church in the county used the name Ebenezer, so they added East and became Ebenezer East Baptist Church. In 1916, the folks at Ebenezer East decided to build their first building, which they occupied in November. And today, Ebenezer East Church building looks like this. Over the last 100 years, many people have been led to Christ through the ministries of Ebenezer East. 4 men have been ordained to preach the gospel. One of their members has served as an IMB missionary to South Africa. Ebenezer East has always been active in doing and giving to missions. And in August of this year, the folks at Ebenezer East celebrated their 100th anniversary. At that anniversary celebration, our Historical Commission representative was talking with members in the church about preserving their records through our microfilm ministry. And the church clerk said, "We would love to do that, but our oldest records are missing." The church records were kept in a safe in the church office. It was locked up, but some teenagers broke in, and they stole the safe. When the police found the safe, it was sitting open on the side of a creek bank. Some of the records had been vandalized, but the oldest minute book was missing. Here's another part of the story. A gentleman who had come back to celebrate at that anniversary overheard the conversation about those lost records. And he related this part of the story. When he was a little boy, he went with his grandmother to microfilm the church records. Back in those days, the mid-1960s, the microfilm camera was portable, and the Samford University librarian had carried that microfilm camera to Greenville to microfilm records for several churches. So we checked with the Special Collection Department of the Samford University Library, where your Alabama Baptist Historical Collection is housed, and sure enough, the earliest records of Ebenezer East were there, safely preserved on microfilm. This is Kim Herndon, the curator of the Alabama Baptist Historical Collection and the dean of the Samford University Library, and she has brought that roll of microfilm with the earliest records of Ebenezer East. a part of the church history that the church members thought had been lost forever. The record of a new church start and some very faithful Alabama Baptists. We hope you'll allow us to serve you and your churches by preserving your records of faithfulness and service through our microfilm ministry. Now, since our theme this year is serve, Kim has brought something else to share. This is a foot washing basin used by Antioch Primitive Baptist Church. This basin is a reminder of our Lord, who taught us what it means to serve as he washed his disciples' feet before he went to the cross. The reason we have this basin is Antioch had to close its doors, and it had nowhere to place its materials. We don't have that concern as Alabama Baptists because almost 60 years ago, the state convention designated Howard College, now Samford University, as the repository for our Alabama Baptist materials. Kim and her staff take very seriously the responsibility of caring for our history, and we'd like to invite you and your churches to come on one of our historical commission tours so that we can share some treasures of our Alabama Baptist history. Our contact information is found in our report, which begins on page 247 of your book of reports. Please call us and let us know how we can serve you. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Lynette. And I want you to know, the longer I know Barry Bledsoe, the better I like him. And he's also an excellent Sunday school teacher. He's going to share with us, he brought it on his iPhone too, the work of the Baptist Foundation of Alabama. Barry?
Thank you, Dr. Lance. Good morning. It's great to be with you. And the longer I'm able to serve Alabama Baptists, the more I love Alabama Baptists and what you do in your communities every day. So thank you for that. I'm very blessed to have a great young staff. And and there's a couple of us older ones. You know, it's a good balance. But if you're a member of the staff, would you just stand for just a moment if you're around? Some of them, different places. Oh yeah, hang on. I have an engineer, 2 lawyers, and a finance guy, and they're all a lot smarter than I am. And I learned that was a good thing to do, is surround your people with your people that are smarter than you. And it's really one of the joys of my life to get to work with these guys. We're passionate about serving Alabama Baptist in a number of ways. We are a service ministry, but we're really passionate about this area of estate stewardship. Most believers have overlooked this largest act of financial stewardship. And those of you that have heard me before, normally I would have sitting right up here on this podium what? 2 jars of pennies. It's really kind of interesting that we've missed that kind of opportunity. Do you know that most Alabama Baptists don't even have a will? Most people I've encountered that have wills don't really understand every decision they've made and often have not made meaningful, informed decisions. Do you know that even fewer than that have considered that what they do with their assets when they die is the largest act of financial stewardship they'll ever undertake? The service that's offered through the Baptist Foundation of Alabama and our strategic partner in Colorado Springs is to serve churches and individual Alabama Baptists so that they can make meaningful, informed decisions that provide for both their family and, if they choose, their faith. Let me give you just 3 or 4 quick stories. You saw yesterday on a film when we were honoring some of those that have passed this last year, Boram Bishop. I loved Boram Bishop. Boram Bishop attended a seminar we did at our church about this opportunity. Boram was in his late 80s at the time. He came up to me afterwards and said, wouldn't it have been a shame if I hadn't heard this? And he acted on that understanding of that stewardship decision. I can tell you another story of a similar man, just like Mr. Bishop, who was very engaged in his community, his church, and he had a plan in his head, but never got around to it before he died. So thus, he had no plan. I love to tell the story where recently we have some money set aside that a businessman gave and said, use these funds to loan for church starts. And so I'd been called in to talk to this pastor and his lead businessman who didn't have a clue who we were. Not surprising. As a matter of fact, he kind of looked at me with a chip on his shoulder and said, what do y'all do anyway? Well, you shouldn't ask me that, because if you ask me that, this is what I'm going to talk about. His jaw almost physically dropped. He was a trainer for who's the financial planning guy in Chattanooga or Nashville? Dave Ramsey. Senior moment, Dave Ramsey. So he knows all about this. His jaw dropped when I started telling him about this. He said, this has to be a divine appointment. I just spent over $3,000 with a Christian attorney, and we never even talked about this. I said, well, I got an opportunity for you. If you'll use your influence, try out this planning process with our friends from Philanthrocorp. He did. He was extremely satisfied, and Alabama Baptist work will benefit from the dollars he's left behind when he dies. In the hotel room or foyer earlier this week, a pastor came up to me and said, thank you for your patience with me. You see, I'd been talking to him about this and how it could benefit his church for about 5 years. Reluctantly, he went through the process of planning, over the telephone, by the way, with our friends in Colorado Springs. He said it was so meaningful and so easy. I want to introduce this to all my church family. Meaningful planning is the best thing you can do for your family when you're gone. You are going to go. The Lord doesn't return. You're not going to take a thing with you, and you're going to leave it all to someone else. So why wouldn't we plan it properly? I had the opportunity to talk to Dr. Bob Terry earlier this year, and he asked me a question or two about this concept. I said, Dr. Terry, would you just take me up on this offer and you do the planning? I want to point you to his editorial this week. Read it and hear about his experience in going through that process. Jesus said in Luke, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. The single largest act of financial stewardship most of us will ever undertake is how we plan our estates. Doesn't it make sense for us to be intentional? We desire to serve you and your church. Please call on us if we can help you.
Thank you, Barry. Thank you very much. Oh, there we go. Dr. Joe Godfrey represents, of course, our ALCAP organization, following in the footsteps of Darren Ireland in many ways, and he has given exemplary leadership in relationship to those concerns we have in working with the state legislature and other ways in the public arena. Joe, come and share with us how you and your ministry serve the Lord here among Alabama Baptists.
Thank you. I appreciate this opportunity, and we do appreciate being a part of what Alabama Baptists are doing in our state. We are the last E in serve, engaging the culture. Now, how do we do that? Well, first of all, we are your missionaries to the state legislature. We have a prayer list that we keep going throughout the legislative session each year when they're in session. We add names to it as the session goes on. Secretaries, other lobbyists, people will come to us, and as well as the legislators, and say, would you add so-and-so to the prayer list? And then on Wednesday mornings, we host a weekly prayer breakfast. And we go over that prayer list, and then the next week we'll have printed those names that were added the week before. And so we keep that throughout the session and keep prayer at the focus of what's going on. We also serve as your missionaries to the legislature by speaking out on the issues that are of most concern to those of us who are Christians, followers of Christ and church members. Moral issues, issues like pro-life, pro-family issues. We are opposed to expansion of addictive behaviors like alcohol, gambling, and other drugs, tobacco as well. And then another way that we serve as your missionaries to the state legislature is by keeping you informed of what's going on in Montgomery. You can go to our website, alcap.com, and you can sign up to receive our email alerts. And we try to limit those pretty much to just the legislative times, but we do send out alerts throughout the year if there's some issue coming up. But we will let you know there's a particular bill. You need to contact your legislator. I'm trying to learn how to tweet, so we're going to start doing that a little bit more, hopefully in the future. Another way that we serve to engage the culture is that we offer resources to help your church to engage the culture in which you are living. We have, as I mentioned earlier, the alcap.com website with all kinds of resource material there, links to other websites, a wealth of information that you can use. If you're doing sermon preparation and you're dealing with a particular moral issue, you should be able to find something on our website as far as statistical data or anecdotal stories or whatever that might help you in illustrating your points. You also will find ways that you can get involved in serving and in reaching your community for Christ. And then through our school program, American Character Builders, which is a separate website, americancharacterbuilders.org, we provide your church with resources that you can use to go into the public schools. You can teach evidence-based material, alcohol, tobacco, saying no to meth, marijuana, and cocaine. We have a program on bullying. You can go in and teach that material, and then you can have a follow-up program at your church where you introduce the biblical principles, the biblical aspects of those issues. And you can invite parents, students, administrators, faculty, everybody from the local school, and introduce the gospel message. Because the only real way to deal with these addictive behaviors is to have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. He's the one that we're looking for in life, and we're not going to find it in all these addictive behaviors. And then we also encourage cultural engagement by the churches themselves. We're there to help you with wet-dry elections if you're having those kinds of issues, Sunday alcohol sales, gambling issues, that sort of thing. We're available to preach and to speak at your churches, but also we've introduced in 2013 an award. It's the Salt and Light Award, and the first one was given to Dr. Dan Ireland, our Director Emeritus. And then after that, the board voted to name it the Dan Ireland Salt and Light Award. Last year we presented it to Pastor Randy Johnson from Friendship Baptist Church in Bon Secour, Alabama. If you'd like to nominate someone to receive that award that's demonstrated the call of Christ to be salt and light in their community, send us their name, a brief paragraph why you think that person would be deserving of that award. And next year our board will meet and hopefully we'll be voting on someone to receive the 2015 award. But thank you again for your support and for your prayers for ALCAP and American Character Builders.
Thank you, Dr. Duffy. This is Jim Graham, pastor of Cusada Baptist Church there in the greater Montgomery area. He serves as the current chair of our Christian Life Commission. This is an information sharing among Alabama Baptists. Let me tell you that Joe primarily is about 95% Alabama Baptist, and his support, or maybe more than that, but he is a lobbyist, that is Joe. This fellow here is a pastor who helps with the commission in giving you the information that is pertinent directly to Alabama Baptists. Thank you, Jim, for you and your commissioners this past year. And for the, sir?
Our privilege. Thank you.
And for all of you, thank you for staying in your time frame. Thank you so much. May your tribe increase. Thank you.